Welcome to the Big Ideas Philanthropy podcast. This episode is a bit special in that its application goes beyond philanthropy as we explore the power of mentorship through a partnership that has developed in our team here at Advancement Resources between Mark McCampbell and Caleb Dutzer. I have the honor of interviewing them about what makes their partnership work, how wisdom is passed down, confidence is built, and how their shared purpose drives impact. It's a story of learning, leadership, and legacy that I think will resonate with many people. Let's dive in.
We first worked together pre-pandemic response and did some strategic partner work. And I think it was your appetite for learning, your hunger to understand. We would complete discovery interview, and the clinician would lead, and you'd say, how did you know to ask that? How did you know to do this? How did you know that's where you should follow that? And so on. And I saw this appetite for learning and this hunger to learn more about that. And then post-pandemic, the first time I went back out in public again, Caleb was pretty much there to assure that that would be a successful engagement, and was very supportive to me in that place. And I began to see how quite possibly that partnership could work to really advance the work that needed to be accomplished. And I think it got deeper then. And I began to see that you had this desire to take on, if you would, kind of like as I pass this mantle, I've come at last to the winter of life, and I'm starting to look at the setting of that sun, and I need to take what I know and make sure that someone else has that. And this is an unfortunate thing. I think that we now have the 40 under 40 in philanthropy, but we don't have the 70 over 70. And I'm actually thinking, how do I make that experience and understanding go forward into the future? And Caleb has this openness to receive that. And I think that then the connection just got deeper to where it was more of a mentorship. But this is the thing I think we have to understand. You can't assign a mentor to a learner and have that work. There has to be, it's almost like, I want to do it. He wants to receive that. I'm willing to learn. He teaches me. I learn 2 new things every day from Caleb, and he teaches me more.
Pop culture references.
And it's important things as well. But I feel like I'm the beneficiary of this, where you would think that this is some kind of an executive training program, but I feel like it's, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. But it's because of the appetite, the willingness, the openness, and then, as you can tell, I don't have any problem telling people things. So.
Yeah, another Markism is my next promotion is heaven, right? And so he's always saying, today could be my last. When I think about the origin, if you will, is one of the things is I love the story of how Mark got to Advancement Resources. And so Mark had a very successful career in philanthropy, especially in the healthcare sector. Healthcare is very meaningful to me for a variety of reasons. Family members, and just recognizing the direct impact that it has on communities. And I love to see that, although perhaps sometimes the maturity is behind from the higher ed sector of fundraising, it's starting to grow more and more and increase and mature. So I think it's an exciting time for healthcare philanthropy. As Mark retired from his successful career, I'm going to talk for you, I guess, but he thought he would just improve his golf game and enjoy that season of life. And after a few months, his golf game got worse and he was bored. And I think when someone has such a strong purpose that exudes to calling that they realize that they have to find that medium or that area to channel that to. And so through so many awesome events, you met Ben Golding and got to become part of the fold here at Advancement Resources with an opportunity to think about how do we better serve our clients and our healthcare organizations. And so that was really appealing just to see that drive of purpose and calling and just the way that you lead and build and create and think. And so I raised my hand a lot for opportunities to be part of some of the projects in the work. And so it took a little bit of convincing as I was new in fundraising industry and just the world of philanthropy. But there was an opportunity to be a part of a large assessment with the healthcare system. And so raised my hand, talked to our leadership a couple times about it, and then had the opportunity to go be of help and just learn. And so that's when I asked him a million questions every hour, and then I just to see the way you think, kind of that large visionary high level, and then think about how does this drill down to the details. And so I do think, like you said, it takes fit, right? I think you can learn things from anybody, right? And really pursue some of those type of mentor-mentee types of relationships, types of colleagues, if you will. But there's also something about that fit of thinking about how do we best work as a team to provide the areas that complement. And so we think about our projects or our clients or our travels. There's a really good rhythm to think about how do we divide that work and kind of keep each other at the top of our game. And so you're there to really help sharpen and ask questions and challenge me or even push me at times to take that step, to grow in that confidence. And I don't know how you see benefit, from this side, but the joke that you always say is that I keep you going.
You
right?
do. I keep waking up every morning alive, and that's a good way to start the day. So I think it's all working that way. I go back to the fact, though, that you have this mission-driven
Sure.
passion for life, much like I did. 35 years ago, I interviewed for a foundation president role, and a board member said to me, "Why aren't you downtown making real money?" And I said, "It's because my mission in life is to identify needs and resources and put them together so people are helped and communities are improved. I do that every day in some way, in some place, wherever I can. And that's what I want to do here. And that's what you decided to do. You could have gotten out of school with your business degree, gone to the city, made big money. You had a passion and a desire to work in such a way that would change people's lives and make a meaningful impact on communities." And that connection is kind of the thread, I think, that pulls that whole thing together. But my hope is that I can continue to be relevant and be able to. We go into situations where I'm twice as old as everybody in the room at a minimum. And I have to have this, the diversity of our ages allows us to reach so many people because you bring that perspective and you help share that with me. And so that's what I'm gaining. I'm gaining a lot more than that, but that's one of the things I'm gaining.
But I think you have to choose to live, and to be open and to be passionate and to be engaged. And I think it is a choice, right? And I don't know what it's like to be, at your level, at your stage in your life, but I do imagine that you had two options, right? That fork in the road, but just to see how you choose to live and be purposeful in that mission statement. I always say pause, rewind, say that again. And I watch people write it down. If we're in a training session, we talk about building your professional credibility, thinking about when we work with hospital partners with that. But something that Mark does in his coaching that I've gleaned from a lot is just that reminder of, and here I go, it's that who you are is more important than what you do or where you do it. And I think when you're a young professional and you're trying to grow up and navigate life and the choices that you have and the times that you doubt, am I doing the right thing? Is this what I'm supposed to do? Where do I want to live? What should I be pursuing? And you compare, or you just you can fester on different things. And so I think about how many times I've looked at the what or the where instead of thinking about the who. And it was why? Why do I work in this field? What attracted me to advancement resources? Why did I raise my hand to be a part of this work, the team that you lead? And I can go back to that mission-driven desire to make an impact and to make a difference. And once you've tasted that, you're almost ruined, right? It's incredibly satisfying, regardless of perhaps thinking back of where you thought you might be in your career, or even when I think of my peers, my classmates from the business college that I was in, and they're doing cool things, and that's awesome too. But just to find that peace and knowing that who you are is more important than what you do or where you do it. And that's something I think that you exemplify and that you model, but it's also what you teach. But it's that twofold, that you teach it, but you live it. And I think that's incredibly inspiring, and it's a gift to be able to glean from that.
These are early days for you. This is about the time, your age now is where I was when I just began to discover that purpose. And I think that could be the thing that would transform this industry more than any single thing. If the people who were in it would understand who they are and have that purpose and understand that it's not a job, that it's a calling, and that there's more to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say when you think about people that you want to build that relationship with, to glean from, to learn from, to be mentored by, it's not like I filled out a form and said, "Hey, can you coach me one day?" And it takes, think about what draws, what's something that you admire or look up to, and then placing yourself there. But also acknowledging that as you grow in relationship and just being colleagues and trusted partners, that it requires, I think, just honesty, just being open and having, real, honest, and sometimes hard conversations of, "Hey, that was frustrating. I didn't quite understand," or, that was hurtful, if you will, or just trying to understand that we're still human. We see the world differently. And sometimes we have bad days. But the opportunity, I think, that when you have a team, a partnership, a colleague, a family member, whatever that looks like, is is a human, and they are going to go through ups and downs. And it's an opportunity, like, how can we complement that? That when they're having a bad day, we can pull them back up, that we can call them to that higher level, that we can remind them who they are, or remind them of their who, if you will. And so I think it's that opportunity just to know that there's positive and negative attributes in every single individual, that you don't elevate them on a pedestal, right? That it's not even about this individual, but rather it's about the willingness to pour into and to lead and to want to share, that the perspectives and the experiences and the wisdom that you do have. And I think there's a leader that we both admire, and we ask them, "What is your leadership philosophy or your principle?" And you hear all these theories, and there's a million books on leadership, right? But this individual said, "My job is to make others better." And I was kind of dumbfounded, because I thought, this individual is an actual incredible leader that has been validated by so many different people that I've met throughout this industry. And to think that that's as simple as just making others better, And so I think it does take that commitment to being selfless, to say, "But I'm going to make you better, and I know you're going to make me better." And so that doesn't mean it's always, easy, but doing hard things are often the best things.
Excellent. And Mark, knowing you're going to be tempted to start with a joke, but what do you really think? What is the hardest part of this?
It sounds like a joke, but it is actually true. Having Caleb as this partner is both energizing and exhausting. He has so much energy. Caleb, you drive hard. You work harder than any two people I know. There's just no end to it. Usually we'll sit down and your laptop will open up, and I will have to say, wait, no, not anymore.
We could be at a bar at the dinner table, or we were on a plane, and I said, "Hey, we need to update our some document we're working on." And he goes, "My computer's dead." And I pulled out a printed report with a pencil, and I said, "Here, you can do it by hand," because I knew that we had to get this done.
So that energy that is so life-giving can be too much. And actually, then I can get to a point where I'm actually very set in a lot of ways, and very much used to having it the way I want and getting what I want. And I don't know that that's wrong. I kind of need it that way. And you will have to work too hard to do that sometimes. And so I have to learn how to pull in a little bit and not be too demanding. But that's a really natural flow that we have. And it didn't happen immediately that way. But I think it's just almost part of that deeper connection, that deeper understanding that the energy balances out then.
And how do you, Mark, advise for other people out there who want to be mentors and that fear of irrelevance part? How do you combat that?
The best way to combat the fear of becoming irrelevant is to stay as deeply involved as you can be, and to remain at the front as close as you can get to the front. But I think the part that you have to avoid as a mentor is trying to give somebody everything. And there's just no way drinking from the fire hose is ever going to be effective for anybody. And you pick it up as a partner like this. I think you pick up more by watching and hearing and just seeing and then asking questions than me sitting and in a more didactic way trying to pass this along. That's why I keep working. I want to stay at the forefront. I think if we have something to share, I think that's what we're supposed to keep giving.
I do want to circle back about how you have instilled a lot of confidence in me, saying you can do this. And I think the switch was when there was a time that I was able to say that to him. And Mark had a significant healthcare experience during COVID and didn't know if he would ever travel or continue to do his work. And when you shared about how did this begin, and you mentioned that there was a time that you traveled right after COVID, this was the first time he was traveling. And although I hadn't seen you in person for over 2 years, and I didn't know you all that much beyond just working on a couple projects together and maybe all team retreats, during that season, I remember checking in on you a couple times, but very surface level. But the night before we were flying out for this board retreat, you weren't sure. You were not sure, should I be doing this? The risk of the COVID response and just how we were all apprehensive. And I remember feeling and knowing that he needed to do this and that there was a greater purpose for it. And so I had that opportunity to take what you've been instilling in me about being more confident and speaking up and walking in that and to say, you can do this. And to that point, every obstacle was in his place. Your flight got canceled, and he said, practice the slides. You're going to have to do this presentation. And I said, get on that dang plane. There are 3 other airports you can fly to. Then he gets to the airport, and I said, I'll pick you up. And he said, it's rush hour. I don't want you to do it. I'll just get an Uber. You requested 5 different Ubers, and they all canceled on him because of how far of a drive it was going to be during the worst traffic. So then I'm not even kidding. He goes, I think I'll just go back. and I said, I will come pick you up if I have to. Then we had to take a COVID test and have a negative response when we were on site at this location. And the COVID test got shipped to the wrong location, so he didn't have one. So I went and got one and left it at the hotel front desk and said, when Mark McCampbell checks in, please give this to him. Then you said the COVID test wasn't working. And I said, nope, there's instructions in there. You have to do it this way. So there's every obstacle.
Learning 2 new things.
And I can tell you when he got there, and I saw you for the first time, since all of those years of during that, or not all those years, but during that gap, you were nervous, right? And I watched him go in and be Mark McCampbell. And I call it Mark 2.0, right? And just have that opportunity. The company was rooting for him, our incredible leadership team. I remember Ben, I was texting Ben during that session, and he said, how's Mark doing? And I said, he is on fire right now. And that, I think, was that start. But it was such a gift and an honor to be able to try to give something back to you that you had been pouring into me.
Thank you.
Shake hands with each other.
Thank you. Thank you.